Welcome back, hockey fans. You have found your way back into the neutral zone. After a much needed break through the month of August, we are back. I am Adam Kernick. Zach Puplis will be along with us in just a little bit. Got a wild and crazy show for you tonight. What else is new? We will be getting caught up on how we both spent our little hiatus away from the show, what we've been up to. The World Juniors went on last month. Oh, Canada came out with yet another championship. We will break down some of that. And then a little bit of NHL free agency talk and whatever other silliness comes across our way as we get back into the swing of things here tonight. All that and whatever else comes our way. Welcome back into the neutral zone, baby. And hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome back into the neutral zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Good to be back. I am Adam Kernick. Zach Puplis is along with us tonight as well. Zach, how you doing, my man?
I'm good. How about you, Adam?
Oh, busy. August is a crazy month for me on the home front. So to take a couple weeks off was very needed and also not very relaxing at the same time. How about you?
Oh, no. Busy too, but probably not to that extent.
Yeah, well, on the work front, August is when everything gets crazy, and we're finally, at least for us, starting to not be quite as crazy. But everything else is staying busy and crazy. I guess to try to be a little less vague for everybody, I work in the school music retail industry. So the start of the school year is very hectic and very, very busy. For my particular store, we're starting to wind down from the busyness a little bit, but the rest of the stores in the company are still staying quite as busy. So we help out with that too. So it's just madness for still the next 3 or 4 weeks, easily at least. But then Zach, I know you've got your musical going on right now. How's that going?
Yes, sir. Monty Python's Spamalot. I play a French knight and a knee knight, and Lancelot's like servant named Concord, and a couple other random roles.
All right. So obviously Spamalot based on Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Everybody knows the movie. First of all, how different is the musical from the movie?
It's been too long. I need to rewatch the movie. But I will say, take your typical Arthurian legend, and they just throw some twists and turns into it, and eventually, they get to the same end. They find the Holy Grail and all that, but there's some other fun things happen along the way that maybe didn't happen in the original legend.
How often does the fourth wall get broken on stage?
Oh, a ton. I mean, my director even does the director's speech beforehand, and he warns the audience that, hey guys, I'm one of those directors that likes to use not just the stage but the entire theater. So, keep your eyes peeled and keep the walkways clear. And
and so now you get to play a little jack of all trades roles. It sounds like what's the single most fun role you're doing in this musical?
Let's see. Probably either the Knights of Knee, because I have, one of the iconic lines that I've had memorized since I was like 12. Or Concord, just because there's, I don't know, it's just a really funny scene, both of the two Concord scenes.
Message for you, sir.
Yeah, that one, yep. And then my knee night one. If you do not find a strawberry, you must find the mightiest tree in the forest and cut it down with a herring.
I only just recognized recently that when they say that, he pulls out a red herring, which is a lovely little literary joke thrown in there. The red herring being, the throwaway, the false lead, if you will, and it winds up being something they don't need to do.
Yeah.
But lots of fun. I'm glad you're enjoying that.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. We got 2 more weekends of it, and we've had a couple sold-out shows, like 1 or 2 maybe sold-out shows so far, and the other ones are still, it had open seats, but it's still really good audiences. And, it's having a nice, lively, attentive audience just makes it that much more fun.
Oh, yeah. And especially with a show like that, where it's not quite audience participation, but anytime you get the crowd into it, it always makes it more fun on stage.
Yeah, definitely. There's one of the more racier scenes, and it got done, and random old lady in the second, or middle-aged to older lady in the second row said, "Encore! Encore! Encore!"
Well, that's good that you at least had one person asking for more.
Yeah, right.
But it is good to be back doing Neutral Zone. I've still been doing Chi-Town Weekly for the most part throughout this. Zach, I know you've been doing Detroit as you're able. Lions, Tigers, and Wings. Oh my. But it is good to be back and get to talk some hockey here. So the summer, of course, is a little quieter in the hockey world, though 4th of July weekend, that time, my gosh, the hot stove season, if you will, to borrow the baseball term. Taryn just joined the chat room, so I'm starting the counter back up. I waited till I knew Taryn was there, so there's one. Taryn, of course, keeps track of all of our non-hockey sport references for us during the shows, and he came perfectly timed there with his entrance. But there was a lot of free agent action in July in the NHL world, so we've got stuff to react to there. August, the biggest thing, the World Juniors, you had, once again, Canada coming out on top, winning the World Juniors, overcoming the Czech Republic, but needed overtime this go around to make it happen. Finland. That's right. Because I was going to make the Spamalot joke of Finland.
Finland, that's the country for me.
Canada defeated Finland 3-2 in overtime to get the gold in the World Juniors. Kent Johnson knocked in the loose puck to give Canada the win. But outside of World Juniors, there's not been a whole lot happening in the hockey world. So what have you been keeping an eye on, Zach?
I would say, like you mentioned, July 4th. Each and every year it seems like that gets busier and busier with all the different free agent signings that they have going on. I remember, a couple summers ago, I was first really getting tuned into it, tuned into the off-season part of it. The big sweepstakes for, was it Erik Karlsson, I think?
Yeah.
And then this year it was, Matthew Tkachuk was the big one.
Yeah, some absolutely ridiculous moves happening around the NHL world. So now that we've seen some of those crazy moves, and I'm still looking at my World Juniors stats just for fun too, just if for no other reason, there are some wonderful names here that we're just going to have to learn and digest as we get further along into this. The leading scorers in the tournament, Logan Stankoven had 6 goals, 10 assists. He's from Canada. Okay, straightforward enough name. Your number 2 scorer with 3 goals and 7 assists, Atu Rati. All right, I think I got through that right. Then 4 goals and 5 assists, Roby Jarventi from Finland. Feel free to correct me at any time with these, Zach.
I'm good.
Then Canadian Kent Johnson had 9 points, 3 goals, 6 assists. And then next up in the list, Jan Mysak. 5 goals, 3 assists for 8 points. Lots of fun names there that we're going to get to learn as these guys, because, World Juniors, these are guys that are going to find their way into NHL program, into NHL feeder systems, if nothing else, at some point through there as they get through. Guys get drafted, wind up in the ECHL, AHL, those kind of, through the farm. And then hopefully making it up to the NHL. So fun to try to get a jump start on learning their names now. U.S. didn't do as well in the World Juniors, unfortunately. We got knocked out in the quarterfinals. The Czech Republic knocked us out 4-2 in the quarterfinals. And then Czech Republic had to take on Canada. And, well, that ended about how you'd think it would against Canada, 5-2.
Oh, Canada.
Exactly. But still good showing for the U.S. Sweden took the bronze. Sweden overcame the Czech Republic for the bronze medal, 3-1 in that game. So the Swedish team had itself a good showing. Jesper Wallstedt, 27 saves in the bronze medal game. So some good things there. I know you like to keep an eye on Team Sweden.
Sweden, yeah.
Yeah. But all in all, roughly, had we talked back in July and just said, hey, who do you think's going to win World Juniors? You would have said
Canada.
And there you go. You were right. Well done. Now can you give me the lottery numbers?
Yeah, I wish.
But still, World Juniors goes off basically without a hitch, yet just another gentle reminder that things are roughly getting back to semi-normal here with everything. Because, during the early days of the pandemic, there's no way you could have had a tournament like this. They didn't have a tournament like this. So to get it back, we're getting closer and closer and closer to normal with everything.
Hooray!
Hooray!
There's much rejoicing. Yay.
Yay. Oh man, is this going to be a Monty Python show? This is going to be a Monty Python show, isn't it?
I think we have to now.
I mean, we've somehow, we've been doing this for roughly a year now. I'd have to look to see when exactly the first episode aired, but roughly a year ago, we started doing this show. I think we have managed somehow to avoid going off the rails into the world of Monty Python. Somehow in this whole year, we've gone off the rails, but somehow Monty Python's never been the source.
Right.
And now you're doing spam a lot, and we have no choice.
Yeah, well, and then they talk about Finland in there, and I'm learning Swedish in Duolingo, and yeah.
Exactly. There you go. We're hitting all the points here. All right, well, before we go too far off the rails, then let's take ourselves a quick break, and then let's just kind of break down some of the transactions and some of the things that have been going on in the NHL. What stood out to us? What's jumped out at us? Do we think then the tables have turned in any one direction for anybody there? Or are we still, it's Edmonton in the West, and how is anybody going to beat Connor McDavid? All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and then we will be right back. This is Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Are you a fan of Buffalo sports? Are you thinking of changing loyalties and becoming a Buffalo sports fan? Do you even know where Buffalo is on the map? Did you know Canada is closer to Buffalo than New York City? Welcome to the Buffalo Huddle, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Patty Bax. This is a podcast designed for you, the passionate sports fan. I know you love your sports. Who doesn't? I cover Buffalo sports and so much more by bringing in the human elements. I call it Buffalo Sports with a Twist. Join me as we take a journey into the world of Buffalo sports. I guarantee you'll fall in love with Buffalo just like I did. Each week we start with an inspiration, question of the day, a Buffalo fun fact, and our weekly challenge to you, the listener. Come huddle up with me. Every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time for the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As we say in Buffalo, go Bills!
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
College football, and do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college and the CCCAA and the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I A in the FBS? Well then look no further. Join myself, Larry B., and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza, each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and sinners. Hello, sports fans around the world. Hello, IE Sports family. This is Cale Henderson, the host of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. If you folks are interested in sports in the Vegas area, if you're wanting to have a blast for 1 hour every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. This is a show built for the Vegas sports fans, where we feature the Las Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the University of Las Vegas, Nevada Rebels. Hopefully, fingers crossed, MLB team coming soon. Either way, if you folks are looking to have a blast for 1 hour each and every week, tune in Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you folks are interested in Vegas sports news, go to our Twitter at SinCities_IESR, and you can speak with me, the host, Cale Henderson, at Cale_Henderson on Twitter. At any time, be happy to reply. Always willing to reach out to our fans. Again, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And be sure to check all those and other shows right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Cale Henderson is going to be coming up right after us tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock on the Pacific. And Larry, if you happen to still be listening, I saw you were in the chat there, Larry. I see that Spreaker is a little close to full. We may need to free up some space for him in order to do his show here in a little bit, because you definitely want to hear Cale. He does an awesome job breaking down all things Vegas sports. You have found your way back into the neutral zone. We are back. I am Adam. Zach is here with us. We're talking hockey again. So the NHL regular season is right around the corner. Training camps are going to be starting up here in the next couple weeks. Some individual team previews are already starting to come out from NHL.com and other publications. But before we get too much into looking ahead, I want to take a look back, not very far back, just a couple months. The NHL offseason was busy, hectic, and crazy. And I've got pulled up here from the Hockey News, one of my preferred online reads for things hockey. They have the 5 biggest moves of the NHL offseason. Zach, what would you guess some of those moves are?
Matthew Tkachuk.
Yes, and who else?
Claude Giroux.
Now, who else was part in the Matthew Tkachuk trade?
Leaving the Flames or going to the Flames?
Going.
It was just a back and forth.
Jonathan Huberdeau.
Oh, Huberdeau. Yeah.
Yeah, Huberdeau made his way back to Calgary in that trade. So the Flames and the Panthers making some big moves for some of their star players. That was one of them. They've got them listed in by order of date. So for them, that was their second move. But there's one.
I don't know. I'm drawing a blank, I guess.
Well, let's set it up with the one before that. Johnny Gaudreau. Gaudreau signing in Columbus with the Blue Jackets.
And he left Calgary as well, or where was he?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And he winds up going to the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Oh, yeah, 'cause there was somebody in a local Calgary news station had a really savage comments about it.
Oh, yeah.
Tweet or whatever.
Yep, he was going to leave to go take less money from a news station in Columbus.
Oh, yeah. That was funny.
And then we had Matthew Tkachuk and Jonathan Huberdeau getting traded.
Who was it?
That was the Matthew Tkachuk and Jonathan Huberdeau.
Oh, sure. Okay.
That was next. Nazem Kadri, fresh off of his winning the cup with the Colorado Avalanche. He goes and signs in Calgary.
Yep.
The Hurricanes acquire Max Pacioretty in a trade with Vegas. Vegas's return, nothing.
What?
Absolutely nothing.
How is that a trade?
Technically, the Golden Knights traded Pacioretty for, quote, future considerations, unquote.
Oh, feed.
But yeah,
That's right. Decent.
but the Carolina, it basically was a salary dump because remember, Vegas lives against the salary cap. And unlike the NFL, where every year the salary cap jumps by huge amounts, except for a pandemic, of course, the NHL salary cap barely moves from year to year. It went up $1 million from last year to this year. So Vegas, yeah. So Vegas is tight against the cap. So for Vegas, it's simply, hey, we're able to get this deal off of our books and free up some space so that, you know, we can afford to pay some of the other players that we have. And then lastly, the Ottawa Senators made a bunch of moves. They, of course, traded for Alex DeBrincat out of Chicago.
Oh, and Claude Giroux.
Yes. They got rid of Matt Murray, replacing him with Cam Talbot. And then, of course, they got Claude Giroux. So.
Oh, yeah. The Cam Talbot, yeah. Because he was disgruntled in Minnesota after the whole Marc-Andre Fleury thing.
Yes. Yep. So they've shored up their team a little bit out there in Ottawa. So looking at some of these moves now, what are you thinking as we're looking at the NHL? Have your opinions on any of the teams changed a whole lot, or are you still, we got to see how these changes pan out? Where are you at right now as we're getting into the training camp portion of the preseason? No dying. You're not allowed to die on the air.
I'm not dead yet.
You'll be stone dead in a minute. Now stop it. I'm sure somewhere Larry is just rolling his eyes. Why am I allowing these guys to have microphones?
Hey, we got to keep it entertaining, right?
Something like that, anyway.
Yeah. I would say, I don't know, like the Panthers and the Flames and maybe status quo. I think the Panthers got better with Tkachuk, and the Flames got better with Nazem Kadri, definitely.
Yeah.
I think what's going to be in the basement. I think they might be mediocre at this point.
Yeah, I'm torn on Calgary. I I really like the Flames coming out of last season. I felt like Calgary was going to be a team to watch out for. I'm torn on them now. Johnny Gaudreau's gone. You've got Jonathan Huberdeau, and that's not a small thing. But Tkachuk is young. I mean, he's mid-20s. I don't know. I just feel like Calgary has ultimately gone backwards more than it's gone forwards with these moves.
Yeah.
Sorry. I thought I had to mute my mic there for a second. And then, so now I'm feeling like, even though they didn't necessarily make a ton of crazy moves, I'd have to look to even see what they've done at goalie, because that's, in my opinion, their biggest weakness. I still like Edmonton. I feel now like Edmonton is my favorite in the Western Conference. That just, between Draisaitl and McDavid and everything else there, certainly they're going to be the team coming out of the regular season hot, because they're going to put up so many points. But as we see in the postseason all the time, you've got to have a goalie. I'm trying to look for Edmonton real quick and see what have they done as far as a goalie situation for them this off season. But I'm kind of feeling back on that. This is Edmonton's show, and we're all just kind of living in it, at least in the West Coast.
Yeah. Well, and where Calgary's at is, they're a perennial playoff contender, and they just need to get over the hump and get to the cup and win it. They're not a really crappy team that has to be rebuilding. They're just trying to get a little more bang for their buck with their players, But, if you think about a baseball analogy, like, okay, if the team's at the bottom, they're going to sell off all their talent so they can bring in more prospects and do rebuilding that way. And that's almost what I feel like Calgary's doing a little bit. It's not. There's going to be a difference between trading all your people away at the trade deadline, all your talent, versus your star player that maybe might be disgruntled and might want to go somewhere else. Which in that case, it's probably better to have him leave, because it could start a cancer in the locker room, that kind of thing. But at the same time, you gotta look at your core team and who you want to build your franchise around. And for part of me, I'm like, okay, for as long as I've been paying attention to Calgary, I think Tkachuk was part of that, and Gaudreau too. So it's like, so what are you guys really doing?
Yeah.
I mean, this seems like an LA Rams deal almost. Like, the Rams were decent, and they just needed to add a little more oomph, and so that they did this trade for Goff for Stafford, and then next thing you know, they won the Super Bowl. So I guess it just really depends on who your core is, and who are these players that you want to build your franchise around, and who you don't want to let go unless you actually have to.
Yeah. And I looked up here, Edmonton did acquire a goalie, but it's not. I'm not instilled with confidence here. Tell me what you think. They signed Jack Campbell, most recently of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So he's 30 years old. He's going to be turning 31. I just had it right here. In January. In January, he'll be turning 31. So this is basically his age 31 season that he's coming into. He spent the last 3 seasons playing for the Maple Leafs. He's been in the NHL consistently since 2016. He was originally drafted by Dallas, played 1 game for the Stars, then broke in with the Kings in 2016, and played more regularly in 2017-18, started a lot of games in 18-19 and 19-20, and then got traded to Toronto and has been there since. Career regular season numbers, all right. 31-9-6 in 49. Oh, excuse me, that was last season. I'm sorry. First career, 71-39-14. 135 games played. A goals against average of 2.53. Save percentage of 916. All right, that's okay. Listen to this playoff number he just had last year, though. Of course, the Maple Leafs, lost in 7 because it's Toronto. It's what they do.
Because Toronto.
Because Toronto. They lost in the first round. That's just what they do. Goals against average of 315 and a save percentage of 897. He started 14 career playoff games. He's 6-8. Is that what Edmonton needed?
Weren't we complaining about their current goalie? Isn't it Mike something?
Oh, yeah. I mean, their goalie situation needed an upgrade. They needed an upgrade off of last season, but
how much of an upgrade is this really?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the big question. You know, I don't know. On the one hand, this could be exactly what they need. I like that it's not necessarily a Band-Aid, that they're trying to go for somebody that theoretically could be there for a few seasons. Let me see. Yeah, he signed a 5-year deal. So they're planning on having him there for a while. This isn't just 1 or 2 seasons and then we move on if it doesn't work. They're wanting him to be the solution. I like the approach. I don't know. I guess I'm just not sold on the player, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I would say you have to rate this decision based off of, how their current goalie situation is versus the goalies that were on the market who they could have gotten or could have traded for. And so then compare it once you know all that information, then you can make a good rating of this.
Yeah. And to be fair to Campbell, it could simply be, I may be treating him unfairly because he was most recently in Toronto, where they yet again figured out how to lose in the first round when really they shouldn't have.
Yeah, exactly.
I could be putting some unfair pressure on him for that there, when really there were things beyond him. And historically in his playoff numbers, yeah, he's a 6-8, but in his career, he saved pretty close to his regular season average on shot percentage. So the 6-8 record isn't entirely his fault either.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what they do and how this all pans out and plays out for them here.
Well, we were talking about the Calgary Flames and, getting rid of some possible franchise players. It's, if you look at Edmonton, that'd be like if you're going to get rid of, Connor McDavid or, Draisaitl. It's like, really? What are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Unless that person really wanted out of there that bad.
Yeah, and they didn't do that. I mean, they've still got Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. You've still got. They figured out a way to keep Evander Kane there. Even though it looked like he was going to be gone, so they still have those pieces there in place. They need to get more consistent goaltending.
Yeah, for sure.
And we'll see if Campbell provides that. Well, do you want to get anything with your Red Wings tonight before we get out of here?
No, per se, but I had a fun article that I had found here. So the Canadiens announced that Nick Suzuki is going to be one of their captains, and he's going to be like the youngest captain in franchise history. He's like 23. But a bunch of the Quebec politicians say that he must learn French to connect better with the fans.
Oh, that's a thing there in Montreal. Yes, for the longest time, they refused to hire a head coach that couldn't speak French.
French speaking, but still, I think it's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a huge deal there in Montreal. Thank you for bringing that up, though. I remember seeing that about Suzuki, that, yeah, he's the youngest captain now in Montreal Canadian history. Very cool. Good for him.
Yeah. Liberal leader Dominique Anglade, which is funny that her last name is Anglade, which looks like English, or Anglo, told reporters it would be a good thing if Suzuki learned French, adding that living in Quebec is an opportunity to learn the language. Parti Québécois leader St. Pierre Plamondon described Suzuki as a very good choice for captain, but added that it is important for the captain to learn French because the position involves a bond with the Quebec fan base that has supported the team for generations.
Yeah, he is also he's only the second captain in NHL history to have Asian heritage. Full-time captain,
Oh, wow.
I should say.
That's awesome.
Trivia question. Who was the first guy? Go.
They have Asian heritage?
Correct.
Oh, I have no idea.
He's in the Hall of Fame. Taryn might remember him. He played for the Ducks. Paul Correa from 1996 to 2003. And Richard
Nice.
Park Richard Park was one of 5 rotating captains for the Minnesota Wild in 2003 and 2004. But Paul Correa was a full-time captain for the Ducks from 96 to 2003.
Very nice.
He's also, Nick Suzuki, he's the youngest captain in Canadiens history. The man, he took the previous owner of that mantle, Silvio Mantha, was named captain at age 24 to begin the 1926-1927 season. So that's a long time ago.
Yeah, a little bit. Suzuki was asked Monday if he would try to learn French. He told reporters that he took online classes this summer as well as French in school growing up, but acknowledged he's currently better reading the language than speaking at it. I'll get better at that, he said.
Yeah.
And then in terms of his captaincy, he says there's been a lot of highs and lows, a lot of learning experiences. I think I've got to handle each situation really well. Just lead by example again. It's a privilege to have that pressure on you. We want to win hockey games, and that's the biggest reason we're here.
Yeah. He was originally drafted by the Golden Knights. They traded him to Montreal as he was part of the Thomas Tatar trade. That also sent Max Pacioretty over to Vegas eventually.
Oh, nice. And then one thing I'm looking forward to this year is, I'm not a Michigan fan, of course, but in hockey, Michigan has produced a lot of good young players recently for the NHL, and one of them being Owen Power. And so this is going to be his first full season in Buffalo. We will see how he does.
Yeah. The Buffalo Sabres will be running on Owen Power this year.
Oh, here. We got time for a funny. Speaking of Owen Power.
Fire away. You've got 5 minutes.
All right. Greg Wyshynski, ESPN. Buffalo Sabres defenseman Owen Power succeeds or fails based on his ability to make split-second decisions, like choosing a bag of popcorn over a speeding home run ball at a recent Toronto Blue Jays home game. And instead of Monty Python, we'll choose some other verbiage that involves the Holy Grail. He chose poorly. It was kind of embarrassing. I didn't get it, Power said. Power and his girlfriend, Victoria, were seated behind left field when Jays catcher Danny Jensen smacked a pitch over the wall and into the stands. I went and got some popcorn for us, Power said. On the way down, I was walking into my seat, and I heard the bat. I was thinking there was no chance that it came to me. But then all of a sudden, everyone in my section was standing with their arms up. I looked up, and I saw a ball coming right at me. I had the popcorn in one hand, and, I more so tried to save myself than catch it because it was coming in pretty fast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Those come in quick.
Yeah. Another fan lunged for the ball before the 6'6" NHL rookie was prepared to grab it. Fans watching the game noticed that Power was in the vicinity of the ball, but didn't come up with it. Canadian sports networks would notice the same. Power said, I was lucky it wasn't shown too much.
Don't worry, Owen. It will live on the internet forever.
Yeah. But then there was another game they went to. It says the cameras caught the gap, but not the eventual triumph. In early September, the Power couple were back in the stands in Toronto. A ball sailed into the crowd, once again headed their way. This time they left with a souvenir. Victoria caught it, the girlfriend.
Good for her. Good for her. She knows what to do. Owen will learn.
Yeah. Right. He said, she's up 1-0 on me. He said, laughing, but she was mad about it. Of course, this is the one that didn't get on TV.
Well, they're lucky, too. Owen's a hockey player born and bred. They're lucky he didn't try to catch it with his teeth.
Right?
They catch pucks that way all the time. He just would have gone and found a dentist afterward and thought nothing of it. But
I know, right?
Well, he's young. He'll learn.
As long as they got good dental insurance.
Exactly. And on that note, we're going to sound the horn on that. Zach, we made it basically the entire hour. Wow. Woohoo. Feels good to be back. And we are back. We will get right back into the thick of things with our regular rotation. We'll start doing some season previews, talking about the upcoming NHL season, training camps, and the such. The Blackhawks already have a player that's going to be out for about 3 months. Yay. I might need a sledgehammer to get through this Blackhawks season, Zach. Either that or I'm just going to make good on my promise to adopt another team. We'll see how that goes.
You want the Peter Gabriel?
Yeah, something like that. All right. We are the Neutral Zone. He is Zach. I am Adam. Thank you so much for listening to us here tonight as we get back into the swing of things, the back into the groove of things. Big shout out and thank you to our Patreon supporters, Bay Area Raised, Emlos Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous. Thank you for your support on Patreon. Check out our website, iesportsradio.com, to find the link to our Patreon page, and you can support us there as well. Starts at just $5 a month. Thank you to Larry B. All he does, both in front of the scenes and behind the scenes here at IE Sports Radio to keep everything moving and rolling, and for hanging out with us in the chat room tonight. Thank you also to Taryn for hanging out with us in the chat room tonight. Thank you for coming here and listening to the two of us, whatever this was, for the last 58 minutes or so. Be sure to stick around for Sin City Sports with Cale Henderson. I am sure he will have all kinds of great Vegas conversations. I'm sure it'll be tons of the Las Vegas Aces. Certainly nothing about the Raiders. We know nobody wants to talk about football ever. So I'm sure there'll be lots of Aces and Golden Knights on his show tonight. Maybe just a smidge of Raiders. All right, we'll see you next week, everybody. Bye-bye.